Thanks, Mohini. Good morning, everyone. So today I would like to, go through a presentation in terms of challenges and dimensions of IT audit. And as Mohini has already, given the explanation in terms of, where I work and all. But then also I would like to, just give a brief summary of my career journey. I'm a IT professional with 20 plus years of experience in terms of implementation, advisory roles, as well as IT audit. Currently holding role and responsibilities of IT security audit in Mizuho Bank, which is a Japanese multinational bank. And I head the APAC region for the same. All right, so I started my career with a marketing firm, that is Mega Visa Marketing and Solution, where I was I joined them as a business analyst, where I was responsible for implementing the B2B portal for that firm. And after we implemented the whole B2B portal, I entered into that same firm into administrator role, doing troubleshooting, implementing, installing, all those kind of stuff. After which, actually, the company went into loss. I had to move out. That time, I had just, qualified my MCSE 2000. So the requirement came from Aneja Associate, which is an Indian consulting firm. They approached me because they wanted a Microsoft certified Windows 2000 certified person. Because what they usually consulting firms do is they create a CV which goes to the clients, and they require certified people. When they came to me, I was not even aware of what is IT audit, actually, frankly speaking. But when I joined them, because of my skills in terms of Windows implementation and the certification, then I got groomed there, trained there, and then sky was the limit, because Mr. Narendra Aneja, who is a proprietor of that firm, gave me a very good free hand, and the colleagues also gave me, the partners and the directors also gave me a very good free hand in terms of approaching the clients, trying to get more business, also consulting, advising, as well as doing audits. So there I got a chance to cut across all verticals in terms of the sectors. And because Aneja Associate being a Indian consulting firm, they are very good in penetrating into the market as internal auditors. So because of which I also got additional requirements of IT audits and consulting. Then I entered into Grant Thornton, a multinational consulting firm, where additional to the work I did in terms of Aneja Associate, I also got additional chance to do work on SOX audits, SAS 70 that time it was called, now it is SSAE 16 audits, then statutory support audits, in inclusion with the internal audit. Then I entered into HSBC Bank. There I was into a role of Group Audit India, where there also we were responsible for APAC region. First, there were two divisions within IT audit. One was technical IT audit, where we do infrastructure, IT infrastructure audit, purely IT infrastructure audit, that is OS databases audit and networking audits. And the next one being the the second stream or second division, which was project and implementation audit. So I started my career with technical field, and then entered into their projects and implementation and governance audit. Then actually there was a huge recession, and there was a layoffs exercises at HSBC. So even I was laid off. Then the first opportunity I got was Kotak Mahindra Bank, and there I joined into the internal audit firm, where we, I was setting up the internal audit department along with one of the seniors in that firm. Again, we started, doing all different kinds of IT audits within that gambit of my role. Then I entered into KPMG, which is a multinational consulting organization. Here again, I got a chance to do a variety of work, including ISO 27001 assurance, SAP implementations, and those kind of stuff. In addition to whatever I was doing previously. All right, and currently, as I said, I am working with Mizuho Bank, responsible for IT security audit across APAC region. Now, today's agenda, which I would like to cover, is we'll be covering the 3 line of defenses: definition of IT audit, types of IT audit, process of IT audit, real life examples, tools used, challenges, auditor qualities, and some book references I would like to recommend to you all. So we have the 3 line of defenses in any of the corporates. That is, first being the implementers. That is, for us it is IT infrastructure development teams who implement. Those become my first line. Second line being the risk based profiles, including IT security as well as compliance risk and those kind of second line of defense. And third is internal audit. As an internal auditor, we fall into the third line of defense. This third line of defense is independent of, it independently reports to the audit committee, and we do not report to any units management. So because of which, our recommendations and suggestions are, independent, and that is what is the objective of this governance model. Then let's start with definition. An IT audit is an examination and evaluation of an organization's information technology infrastructure, policies, and operations. And information technology audits determine whether IT controls protect corporate assets, ensure data integrity, and align with the business overall goals. Usually, when we do IT audit, we have some key risks which we consider. These are the main ones. There are more additional ones which we look into. First is security risk, integrity risk, IT operational risk, availability risk, reputational risk, regulatory and legal risk. Each and every IT audit is a risk-based audit because we are not able to complete 100% sampling of any time given point of time. The reason being is IT audit is usually of field work of only 8 to 10 days depending on each company, and the planning stage is involved, and then so that's the reason the risk has to be analyzed at which is the risk to that organization, and only those key risk areas has to be scoped in the IT audits. So let's go for the types of IT audit. As I said, always we have a risk-based approach when we decide on any audit. In any company, there is an annual audit plan which we need to follow. That is discussed again, as I mentioned. It's based on the risk ratings as well as risk analysis done by the auditees as well. That is a self risk assessment based, and then we take that as a base and then add on our risk analysis, and basis which we decide on certain audits which we plan for the whole year. That may include IS audit. As I am working for the bank, we are regulated with RBI. So we have a certain documentation which I'll go through once we start with the details of IS audit. Now this IS audit, consists of all IT general control, governance control, as well as the cybersecurity controls. The RBI guidelines and circulars are given on daily basis. In the sense, the security news and the notification usually come on daily basis, which are coming to the CISOs as well as the first line of defense. Those things are also shared with all the employees in the compliance committee meetings, which is held on the weekly basis. And in that, even IT related circulars and notifications are flashed so that everyone is aware of that and what kind of people are taking action, and whether it is applicable to that organization or not is decided. And basis which the action plan is drawn. This is given to the management and shared with the management that this is the circular which has come, and because of which it is applicable. As we have this kind of business, it is applicable to us, and this is the action plan we need to do. Or if we already are complied with, we are good to go. Then we have application security audit. Now this is especially, we take up the flagship applications, which are very critical, core banking applications, which are need to be, annually reviewed of. And these application security audits are, again, risk-based approach is taken, and we go in depth with along with the business auditors. So what happens is the business auditors also join us, and we as an IT auditor join in. Our role of IT auditor is to ensure that all autonomous controls are in place, and any security loopholes that we need to take care in that application. So that is our role, and it is a joint approach, so that it becomes more effective and value add to the organization, because the business auditors are more knowledgeable in terms of what the business is. They specialize in that, and then they along with us in terms of IT, we handhold and actually give a very good output and report to the management. That is always fruitful and satisfying in terms of to the management also, when we do a joint audit of application security audits. Certain times they are independently also handled, where only IT auditors play a role, and it is purely technological related. Nothing in terms of going for the business process or any kind of workflows. So in any audit, whenever we do these kind of application security audits, we have to take the walkthroughs, and then we try to understand what is the actual system, and then we also come up, we draw certain controls in place which needs to be taken care of. So that is tested, and then reported in terms of compliance or non-compliance, and the recommendations are set. Then we have cybersecurity audits, which is the latest because of this COVID-19. This cybersecurity audits have become more important. The reason being is we have so many cyber attacks in India currently, and each sector is facing the same. So is the banking sector, and the banking sector is the worst hit in terms of cyber attacks, as you might be aware in the news. So that becomes the most critical audits whenever we do the cybersecurity audits. When these audits are performed, they are globally run up parallelly. That is, if I'm in a multinational bank, all countries globally, all the units of that bank will, parallelly run the cybersecurity audit. The reason being is it will give a holistic picture of the controls in this area. Usually what we see is any of the audits, we start with policy and procedures implemented by that company, and then try to see what are the controls implemented and whether they are effective or not. That is how we go. The first is the design phase, where the controls have been implemented or not, and second is the implementation phase, whether it is effective or not. So both the controls are checked. And here in the cybersecurity audits, more incident response and the regulator response needs to be more prompt, and how the awareness trainings are happening, how the response will be captured, what are the monitoring tools which are in place, and how they are functioning in terms of across each unit of that particular global bank. So those things are shared within the auditors across, and then a consolidated basis, the consolidated the ratings, we try to give an audit report. One only audit report is provided, but each entity is having a space in that report, and then those things are shared in terms of effectiveness, and overall general recommendations are provided, which helps each and every unit of that organization. That's why these global audits are run, so that simultaneously a complete picture is provided to the management. As an auditor, we are actually a bridge between the auditees and auditors, and to the management, which helps always to give them the picture, because they can't come down and actually view what is happening at the ground level. So we as an auditor are responsible for actually giving a correct, accurate picture to the management. So global audits, these kind of global audits we run. Then we have certain audits like IT outsourcing audits. That is nothing but the all vendor audits, which we have. In this, the any organization has many IT vendors which are helping them out to support their business. It can be maintenance, it can be, data center can be outsourced, it can be uh, you know, the SOC and SIEM, which is outsourced. So monitoring tools are outsourced. So those things are there, which vendors help, and we need to do their audits. So there are basically, SSAE 16 as well as SOC SAS 70 were the previous, SAS 70 was the previous version. But RBI also gives the guidelines what to do in terms of IT outsourcing audits. So, the vendors, how, and the most important thing in IT outsourcing audit is, first, when we have agreements with those vendors, we need to ensure that a clause is there for auditing them. Otherwise, we won't get permission to audit them as a organization. Those terms and conditions are always, laid down initially at the stage when you are getting an engagement with them. So that is very important. Otherwise, you can't audit. Maybe, in an organization, a very critical vendor is there who's supporting maybe, credit card or debit card printing or something, and but then they have not allowed a clause of right to audit. So if that is not there, they would not allow. Only, so that would be more difficult. So usually the case is, each and every with the IT vendor, agreements are signed, including this kind of clause. And each corporates have their own templates. And this is the most important, where we can actually, this clause, which helps you to audit them. Then we have certain themed audits. These are all, special audits, which come up in the real time, like, certain breaches happen. Then we have data protection and leakage audits. Then we have the BCP audits, which are, required annually. Maybe some infrastructure has changed, or the backup policies and procedures have been changed, so that comes in picture. So this is something which is, themed audits are real-time audits. It may not be there, or may be planned prior in the annual audits, but later on also it can squeeze in, because of some kind of situation or events or incidents happening in that organization. Maybe some fraud happens, so then again that investigation would kind of audit along with what happens, root cause analysis, all those kind of stuff starts coming in for that particular business or particular technology or particular department. So these are all themed audits. So these are some of the basic audits which we participate as an IT auditor. Then we have software development lifecycle audits and project audit, that's pre and post implementation audits. Now, in the software development lifecycle, it's a process audit where we understand how the development cycle and phase wise people are following, and what are the compliance in terms of the policy and procedures we are there. Then in the projects audits, that's pre and post implementation audits. These audits are special audits for the organization where certain flagship, when I say flagship audits for that particular project, is most critical project or most critical software or implementation, application implementation in that organization, that is being audited based on the phase. Like if it is pre-implementation audit, it must have just started, and in the sense it might be in the feasibility stage, or maybe some coding stage, and then we are doing that pre-implementation audit. And post-implementation audits, when the actual project is complete and rolled out on production, and after which we try to check and evaluate the project itself in terms of the controls which are in place. And certain times these project audits are usually the legacy systems are there, and they are now getting into a new application or new core application, which is very critical to the organization based on the cost and budget, as well as the timelines. It may also be very much required by the regulator. So they must have enforced certain projects, because of which we need to, they become a high risk projects, and those projects are taken into this project audits. We also have one small thing that is called as continuous monitoring. These projects which are running in any corporate, we are continuously monitoring them. In the sense, they send us they send as a project team, they send the status of the project to the management, and that is also shared with us, so that we are aware of what is happening in that projects, and basis which, if something goes wrong, or maybe when the management requests us to take the certain key projects, high risk projects, we just start with the pre or post implementation audits. So that is the base in terms of how we select our audits, and usually this is the main way any corporate goes for the annual planning of IT audits. Then let's see what is the process of IT audit. A typical audit is comprised of 4 stages. That is planning stage, where we have to announce them by email saying that we are going to do audit. It is done prior, depending on the corporate. Each corporate, it's usually it is 1 month prior. Then then we have to do opening and closing meetings, and review the audit scope and objectives, as well as the concerns from the head of departments and management, and get their feedback in terms of what is their concern in the area, and then we take that units or offices audit. Then we have the field work. As I said, usually field work is very small, that is 8 to 10 days, but it has to be very crisp and very to the point, because otherwise people during this field work, we go to for walkthroughs with the auditees. Along with the auditees, we also see this security configuration settings, and also it has to be ensured that whatever is your scope of work is complete within this field work phase. And continuous communication are required to update the management, as well as potential finding also needs to be updated to the management based on the field work. Reporting, conduct closing meetings are done with management to discuss observation and recommendation. Issue draft report to unit management and request management response to address the recommendations. Issues management memorandum to communicate less significant findings. Issue final report to unit and senior management with management response included, and request management to complete a client survey evaluation. The reporting stage is very, very critical, because you should have a buy-in from the management as well as the auditees. Now see, when we go on the field work, we communicate with the lower designation staff who are working on the field, and but they might agree, but they might not understand the risk, or the implication, or what is the importance of that. So they may only help us, giving us factual accuracy confirmations in terms of whatever we have found is confirmed or not. But the actual main discussions happen with the head of departments as well as the management. And to the management, we always have to tell the return of investment. Otherwise the management does not accept. It's a very difficult task to ensure that whatever we are recommending is being implemented or not. So the main important thing in this is management buy-in in terms of accepting the issues, and then giving an action plan, and then the deadlines to completion of the same. Because the last part of the audit is follow-up also. Usually what happens is each issues has a 3 months time frame which we allow them, but there are certain issues which may take long because of the very big investment and implementation. So then it is phase wise it is checked. So those kind of keystones are put in place for that particular action, and then that is how the follow-ups are done. Follow-ups will also require certain evidences from the auditees. One thing I forgot was, in field work, it's very important to take the evidence accurately, because in IT audit, the main challenge is, it is just as configuration. So when a person is discussing with the auditor is discussing with the auditee and sees some, configuration which is wrongly done, or, they have missed it. And when you try to capture the screenshot, if you forget to capture the screenshot, the person auditee may actually change it. So then you won't be able to prove your point that, you had informed them that they have missed it, and then they have updated this configuration or policy settings. So in field work, evidence collection is very, very critical and important, because auditees at that moment during the field work, they may accept, but when it comes to the final reporting time, when issues are consolidated, it might become big. So they may get, they may just go to the back foot saying, oh, this was not there, or, so then you will have to have a clear evidences with you, so that you can actually show them what was the issue when you were actually on the field work, and then you have recommended, and basis which now, after seeing that, they have actually changed it and implemented immediately, so that we can acknowledge them in the report. But issue remains. It is not that they change it in immediate. If we say some password policy was not in compliance with the bank's policy, so it may be maybe 5 or some characters, and then the policy says it has to be 9 characters or 8 characters. So they immediately, in front of us only, they would like to change, because they, that kind of smart audit is also there. But before they change, we need to capture the evidence. That's the main point what I was trying to say. Then you can acknowledge in the report that they have completed the same. So that is it in terms of the process. Now, as I said, the processes, we have certain scopes which are defined basis the risk analysis. Then, the systems and all those things are taken into consideration. Testing happens during the field work. The communication, as I said, it has to be continuous communication with the auditees in terms of the staff who are actually on grounds, and then the head of department and the management also, because otherwise your report won't go through, and there will be delay in issuing the report, because until unless all your observations and recommendations and actions are not captured in the audit report, you can't release the report. That's a very, very critical thing which we need to complete during our field work. So this is the thing. Now let's go to some real life experiences which I came across. See, basically these are the generic IT issues which usually in all IT audits we see, that is non-compliance to organization policies and procedures, non-compliance to regulatory circular requirements. In banks, it is RBI. For stock exchanges, SEBI. For telecom, it is TRAI. So that kind of all different regulators are there, and they have their own guidelines which we need to each and every company needs to follow. And being in the financial institute, RBI is very strict. If you do not comply with whatever they are saying, they will give you first time warning. They will give you some time frame. You need to update them continuously. And if you fail to do so as an organization, there are huge penalties which are laid, and then reputational loss and many things happen. And if the worst scenario, when you don't obey them and it's in a worst state, they may also revoke your license. That kind of power they have. So it's always very, very critical that all the regulator circulars and notifications and actions, we need to report them on timely basis and ensure that we comply to them. Because till now, the RBI IT audit auditors used to not come to the banks. It was usually generic IT audit, general IT auditors used to enter, and in small banks specifically. But now what RBI has done is they have their own Rebit organization, which is IT specialized auditors have been recruited, and now they send to each and every organization. So if it is small, they might send for 3 or 4 days for IT audits, but if it's big, then it may have a longer tenure, maybe 1 month or more, depending on the organization. But now annually they enter into organizations, and the RBI IT auditors do IT audits in the company, and whenever they come in, they usually pick up the first reports, that is the internal audit IT reports. So our IT internal audits, IT reports are very critical and very important. And what we write, how we write becomes very, very, important. And as well as, the action plan and the completion and closing of those issues also are very critical. And the regulators always ensure that they pick up first. Whenever they enter, they will ask for IT audit for that year. Where is the internal audit report of IT? So they will take that. If any external special audits have been happening on the IT departments, that also they will pick up. And basis that, they will start their audit. So they have already their own checklist, but they always try to see if someone else has already done some work, what kind of, control effectiveness is there in that environment. So that helps them to start off with the audit. Then we have certain misconfigurations issues where, certain password policy, security policy, certain patches are missed on Windows, certain databases, certain things are not implemented. So those kind of stuff comes in picture. So we always have to, ensure that we check with the vendor websites and, ensure that those things are put in place, which is the latest one. So those kind of homeworks needs to be done by the IT auditors before entering into that scope of work. Then we have certain admin or DB, that's the logical access related issues. Usually, shared passwords and certain, segregation is not maintained in terms of, the production access is given to developers, and those kind of issues are seen. Then we have audit logs and monitoring issues, where usually, if it is not a key application or key business in that organization, they don't want to invest in the audit logs generation and then monitoring of the same, because it's a very, very tedious task, because the person who is reviewing it also has to be technical to understand these kind of stuff which is getting generated. So usually this is one of the weak areas, password policies, the security policies, these audit logs issues are usually, reflecting in most of the audits. Then maker checker insufficiencies I've seen, the maker actually implementing certain things and checker doesn't review and just pushes it out. So that insufficiencies are seen. Then in SDLCs, that is a software development life cycles, lack of participation of business owners and top management, insufficient testing, etc. is seen usually. So so these are the basic generic IT issues which we regularly see. And trainings are not provided across, awareness is not there. Those kind of stuff also are seen in terms of the new policies or circulars coming in. The employees are not aware, and we make them aware as an IT auditor that this RBI has given this kind of IT circular. This is not complied with. There had some deadlines which you have not met, and all those kind of stuff. Now, any issues, whichever we give them, always a root cause analysis needs to be performed for each issues, and then only the recommendation has to be made. And for each issues recommendations, also you need to also be ready with the return of investment, because otherwise management won't take it, those issues. Usually my audit mantra is every audit has to be a value addition of knowledge enhancement, either to the auditee or to myself as an auditor. Then only that audit is successful, and the management also appreciates. Otherwise, the management does not allow you also. That kind of analysis is done on the audit reports also. So if you say we did an IS audit maybe in that bank, and then later on the RBI auditors enter and they find certain issues which were not in the internal audit IT audits report, then you had it. Because then you'll have to prove what happened, what is the root cause that you couldn't find as an internal auditor this issue. How come RBI IT auditor has found this? So it's a very challenging role, and it has to be a value addition. Any issues coming from the regulator during their RBI IT audits, it should be something which the management is aware or it is following up. with in terms of the team in phase wise, but there should be no critical or very high risk issues which come in. Otherwise, you are taken to the task as an IT auditor, and we also have to prove what happened, why it happened, with evidence. So we are taken on radar. So this audit role is very, very responsible role. And management always, we need to be bridge between, as I said, bridge between the audit teams, that is the IT departments, as well as the management, so that correct picture is given to the management. And when, as I said, we do certain support business audits also along with IT audit, those also gives a complete picture. And the implementation people always, auditees usually focus on the actual implementation or the output, but they may also forget certain risk which we as an IT auditors can foresee, because we get a complete view of business plus IT. So we have a better view of the same. Like, as I said, the infrastructure guy, the admin guy, is only responsible for the OS implementation, but on that server of that particular OS, which applications are there and which business application, critical applications are running, and what can be the risk which they must have missed, what kind of impact it may have, that they won't know. So that becomes a kind of a value addition which we give as a package as an IT auditor. It's not, see, every IT professional, whoever is in first line or in second line, they all are aware of, and they specialize in those fields, so they all are aware of these security guidelines, frameworks, and all those things. But what additional we give them in terms of what they were not aware, then they will welcome you. Otherwise, anytime any audits are there, they will say, oh, why the hell this audit is? We'll work, or we will give audit data and all. So it always only, you will get respect if you give a value addition report. It is not that some complaints or some issues which are missed, penny issues. Don't try to raise it, which will bugging off the management as well as the auditees themselves. Certain tools used are certain cats we use, that is all script based tools which we run on the servers and get the security configuration. For vulnerability assessments, usually people use Nessus, and that is how certain. And for the SDLC also, we have certain code striker, road code, those kind of stuff for code analysis and review we do. So there are many more in terms of tools. It all depends. Each organizations do not allow tools to be used. Certain times we also have to do manual work, in terms of you need to give them the SQL statements, you need to give them some DOS commands, and or maybe operating systems management console details, so that they can give us that screenshots, and then jointly we remove it, take it from them, and then actually complete the audits. So IT audit is not only mature organizations do allow to use tools and they have cats, but certain small organizations, they still work on manual work. So as a technical person, IT auditors should know many things in terms of that particular scope of work before going on the field work. So the one thing is, the challenge which we have during our audit, which we see is auditees delay data sharing. So as I said, our field work is only 8 days or 10 days, so they delay till the last day so that you won't get time, and they the issues are not raised, because the reason being is their KPIs are, that is a key performance indicators, are linked with them. Certain mature organizations, if they see high risk in your area, that is IT head is there and he gets some high risk area in the audit, IT audit, then his and his team's performance hampered very badly. So these things, so they try to play smart play like this by delaying the data sharing. They have to give, because management is looking into and they are following up with us. We also escalate the same, but to the management if they don't give us the data, but they try to delay, so that we don't get proper time to review the same. But certain mature auditees are very good. They ensure that timely before the fieldwork start, they give us 1 week prior the data, so that we are reviewing it and we get proper time, and they take it as a value add in terms of recommendation. So it all depends which kind of maturity level the auditors is, but this is one of the challenge. Then evidence collection, as I said, they are all security settings. It is a 1 second job to change it. So if you are not, prompt and fast, before you could take screenshot, that person would change, and then you can't prove to the management that you had pointed out, and then that person has already has changed. So the risk you had, informed or noted to them, but then, that is how it happens. So you have to be very, very fast and prompt and alert. How you talk, how you communicate, how you take screenshots. You should be aware of what are the, syntaxes, rules, where are the configuration settings beforehand, so that, because any person as an auditee, they are specialized people, and then you try and ask them, and if you show them that you have not done your homework, that doesn't work, because they will get bugged off and they won't even give you. So so that is how homework has to be done before coming and collecting the evidences and syntax. Then insufficient skills are there of audit resources. They may be new, they may not be aware of the new technologies. Report writing is most critical in audits, because what you present will go to that management level. So small things, petty issues cannot be written in such a way that it is a big issue. It has to be crisp, clear, and in a layman's language. There are a big the report is in detail for the auditees in technical terms, and another is the executive summary, which is only for the management purview, because they do not have time. It's just a one-page report, highlighting only the high-risk areas, and explaining in a very, very layman language. So if you are not able to make the management understand, your report won't get accepted, and you will be challenged for the same. In any of the IT audits, zero tolerance is there. That means if one also sample, like one server's policies, passwords are not proper, we have to recommend that they review completely phase wise, all the servers password policies, because this also is reported. Even if it is one, it comes as a sample in our review. That we have to recommend them that you please recheck all your password policies of all your servers, complete 100%, because during fieldwork we do not have time, so we just do sampling. Then we have planning and researching. As I said, before entering any fieldwork, you need to know your scope, the application, what that application does, how it configurations are there, how it works, where will you get your details in terms of your controls, the security settings, configuration. Those whole things needs to be done prior entering the fieldwork. So that is a very, very critical phase of audit. Then interacting and communicating with different techies and subject experts. So you have to be careful. You cannot hurt their ego, because they think they are the best. And when you as an auditor go and evaluate their work, they may get hurt, because they feel, oh, why this person is coming in, checking my things, or she will find out some issues in small petty things, and what she knows, I know better than the person. So that kind of things you need to just manage and ensure that you come out with a value addition, and also help the auditee to go for efficiency in terms of the outputs, regular outputs. As I said, value addition. Then we have high risk issues may draw penalties from regulator. As I said, whenever RBI IT auditors enter, they ask for any of the internal audit reports. So if your certain high risk issues, these kind of issues will actually catch the eye of regulator, and they will follow up. So in certain organizations, I have seen is there are two kinds of reports. One where they are called as flash reports, which has these kind of very highly critical issues which are there, and loopholes and gaps are there. And one is a normal internal audit report which is issued. So this is just to ensure that the regulators don't penalize them if it's a case of non-compliance. So those kind of things also I've seen. Certain organizations are very strict. They say no, nothing doing, even if it is a high risk, it has to be internal audit report only. Let the RBI come and check and follow up for the action plans. So I have seen certain organizations, we are so strict that before we come to know, see these RBI IT audits are surprise audits. They just tell you a week back or maybe 2-3 days back also. But we have a rough idea because, we come to know from the market and network that, certain bankings are getting audited. So anytime we can also be audited. So what usually management does is request to the auditors that, they also have a first round of IT audit before the RBI IT auditors coming, so that you understand what are the loophole gaps and you already have action plans in place before the IT RBI auditors ask you. So then they will be okay. But if no action taken, non-compliance and those kind of things, then they may have some, very strong comments against the organization in the reports, which is not a good idea, and not, everyone wants it because it may also draw penalties. So that kind of stuff. Then we have auditees' performance may get impacted with unsatisfactory report results. Uh, if more issues are there, auditees are scared, and even the management takes it like that. They, as I said, it is, in their annual performance, key performance areas, those things are written that if any high risk issues, then it will be not acceptable. So, that may hamper their performance, so they get worried. So they try to hide, they delay the report, many things happen. So you have to smart play and ensure that things are factually correct and informed, and gap are already shown to the management, and then jointly we can solve it by action plan. Then auditees' feedback may affect auditors' performance during the field work. If you have some arguments with auditees, they may complain against you because after end of each audit, each auditor's performance and feedback is taken from the auditees. So one has to be very, very careful when you are performing audits. You have to ensure that you do your work and you give your best output for the value addition, but do not come in conflict with the auditees, because that will affect your performance as well. And as I said, management acceptability for any issues. If it is not having any return of investment, they would not, allow you to. They won't allow it to issue the reports. Oh, sorry. Okay, what are the best? I just thought of just jotting down some auditors' qualities which can, be enhancing the. If someone is trying to take the profile of auditor, they may think of going through this. One needs to become a bridge, as a key enabler between implementers and auditees and management. Continuous update knowledge. Yes, you have to be continuously updating about the security news which are happening, what is happening in terms of technology. Do your homework before the field work, attend seminars, attend trainings. Either the company gives you trainings or you pay and just go in to upgrade yourself in terms of that technology. But there is a continuous study without which this doesn't work, because technology changes very fast. People management skill, yeah, when you go for audits on the field work, there are different kind of people, different culture people, different age group people. So you should know how to ask them, because they might be certain auditees who are very, very mature in terms of that organization. They may be very loyal, and they might be a very the best experience on that particular field, and challenging them, asking them, you should be very cautious when you are doing the field work. Then the communication skill, as I said, certain international, multinational companies, there is cultural difference comes in, because different countries have different culture. And the communication skill, that is English, also is a problem, or other language. It's very difficult for them to understand, because English is not their main key language, which in that country. So those kind of skill has to be developed if you are doing multinational firms audit across any regions across the globe. So you will face those kind of stuff also as a challenge. Then report writing skill, as I said, you have to be very careful. There are technical reports which are in detail for the auditees who are on the ground level, and there is a summary report which is a one-pager with the high-risk issues only to the management, which has to be in a very layman language. We have to be confident and have patience, because without patience you cannot complete the audits. These are some of the IT books which you can go through, and certain links which you can refer for certain audits. And that's it. thank you. That's all which I had to present. This is my LinkedIn profile as well as my email ID, komal@vora@yahoo.com. If anyone would like to connect with me or ask certain specific questions, I'm happy to guide. Thank you.